I wish I had found this earlier, but we're going to add on to our other discussion of Pope Pius XII, Eugenio Pacelli, his discussion in his 1939 encyclical Summa Pontificatum. I think we said the title Summi Pontificatum. We're going to add on to that Pope Leo XIII, his encyclical from 1889, Humanum Genus. We're going to look at two of these paragraphs, 25 and 26. As men are, by the will of God, born for civil union and society, and as the power to rule is so necessary a bond of society that if it be taken away, society must at once be broken up, it follows that from him who is the author of society has also come the authority to rule, so that whoever rules, he is the minister of God. Wherefore, as the end and nature of human society so requires, it is right to obey the just commands of lawful authority, as it is right to obey God who ruleth in all things. And it is most untrue that the people have it in their power to cast aside their obedience whensoever they please. Now, what he's talking about here, Pope Leo XIII was an eternal battler against Freemasonry and liberalism. So he's talking about the divine right of kings, essentially, or monarchs, or the chieftain, the tribal ruler, whatever it happens to be. He's saying that this stuff is part of human nature by the dispensation of God, and that the structure of the church, the Catholic Church, it's a monarchical institution, that mirrors the God-given form of human society, and that if you don't have a ruler, you're going to descend into anarchy and chaos, and you're going to become uncivilized and start acting like animals. And there's going to be violence and rapine and theft and all these other things that happen. And so the monarch, the ruler, it's their responsibility to rule justly, and it is the responsibility of the citizen to follow just laws. Okay? These things go back and forth. The responsibility that one party has to the other in order to achieve social harmony, and then within that you can have your healthy religious life and get to heaven. That's the view that's being put forward here, that the church and the state have to work together, that the church is neither, it's not a dualistic worldview in which everything is in another world and this world's completely sinful. No, there has to be this give and take between these two components. You have to have a healthy material life in order to achieve your religious salvation. I think that's what's going on here. Now, what we're interested in is the following paragraph, paragraph 26. In like manner, no one doubts that all men are equal to one another, so far as regards their common origin and nature. Let me back up. What he said at the end of paragraph 25 is that you, humans, people, do not have the right to overthrow a monarch and institute a republican form of government. Maybe if you have a bad monarch, you can overthrow that monarch and get a new one, but you do not have the right to implement this ideology behind the French Revolution and the American War of Independence, in which you say the power comes from the consent of the people, from within the body of the people. This authority and legitimacy wells up, and you can go and get rid of the monarch, who's really just the biggest bandit in the kingdom. That's Enlightenment thought, right? He's totally against this. Okay. So all men are equal to one another so far as regards, one, their common origin, they're all members of the human race, and two, their nature as humans, as people. On the last end, which each one has to attain, that's their salvation, or the rights and duties which are thence derived, that's natural law. So there are certain things that you have to do and that you shouldn't do. You should not commit incest because that's against natural law. You should get married and have children. You should have a healthy religious life. You should be humble, pious, generous, all these things. You shouldn't steal, murder, rape, and pillage. Okay, so we get where he's coming from with that. That's all fairly non-controversial, I think, for people of religious persuasion, this highlighted part right here. I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing and blew it up. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next part. But as the abilities of all are not equal, as one differs from another in the powers of mind or body, and as there are very many dissimilarities of manner, disposition, and character, it is most repugnant to reason to endeavor to confine all within the same measure and to extend complete equality of the institutions of civic life. Just as a perfect condition of the body results from the conjunction and composition of its various members, which, though differing in form and purpose, make by their union and the distribution of each one to its proper place a combination beautiful to behold, firm in strength and necessary for use. So in the commonwealth there is an almost infinite dissimilarity of men as parts of the whole. If they are to be all equal, and each is to follow his own will, the state will appear most deformed. But if, with a distinction of degrees of dignity, of pursuits and employments, all aptly conspire for the common good, they will present the image of the state both well constituted and conformable to nature. So what is he saying? He's saying that in our population, in our society, you've got all different kinds of people who obviously are very different in every single appreciable way. This is exactly what Anthony Ludovici saying. These guys couldn't be more different in their religious outlook, but they have the exact same type of aristocratic, hierarchical view of society. Power begins at the top, it moves down throughout society, everybody's different, they're going to find different niches to occupy, and to the extent that some of them are ugly or beautiful, it's totally natural. Do you believe that Pope Leo XIII, who himself was an aristocrat, was an egalitarian or a liberal? No. He simply he battled against those things his entire career, against Freemasonry, against the ideology of the French Revolution and the so-called Enlightenment. So what we have to do, if we want to try to move past this really tired ideology, is those of us who are still under the spell of liberalism and egalitarianism have got to purge that out, okay? And many critics of Christianity have pointed out, like Nietzsche, that there are these currents within Christianity that really want to build up the sick man, the leper, and the poor into the ideal. Well, Pope Leo XIII rejects that, okay? He wants everybody to continue to have these differences. He doesn't want to elevate the sick man and then have us all be sick. So we're going to move forward with this, but this is a fundamental part of it, because we can't answer the race question until we answer the individualist question. We can't talk about differences between races until we talk about differences between individuals. And so what I've tried to show you here is both from the secularist / European pagan / modernist sort of perspective, which is, that's where I'm characterizing Anthony Ludovici. From that perspective, this stuff is okay. From this arch traditionalist, Leo XIII, this guy who's rejecting modernity completely, he's saying it's okay. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk again soon.